It's a lovely morning right here in Makati, the Benue state capital. Hello and welcome to Benue Television News at 9. I am Susan Achin. The headlines: ongoing renovation on Aparaku Stadium in Benue to be completed in 8 weeks. Fire burns down Anambra spare parts market. The internationals in protest across Venezuela as election dispute goes on. Governor Hyacinth Alia has directed the Commissioner for Youth, Sports and Creativity to ensure that the contractor handling ongoing renovation at Aparaku Stadium completes the work within 8 weeks. Governor Alia gave the directive Friday at Kimbi's International Hotel Makati while declaring open media director seminar for media officers of the Nigerian Premier Football League. Correspondent Emmanuel Aquila completes the report.
The governor says the stadium, when completed, will meet international standards, stating that his administration was committed to upgrading football pitches across the state to ensure the revival of football economy in the state. He announces that renovation work at the Jazz Taka Stadium Boko will soon commence to harness youth talent in football. Reverend Father Alia hopes that at the end of his administration, Benue State would become sports hub in the country, pointing out that within his 1 year in office, he had reintroduced the Governor's Cup among other initiatives.
In 1 year, we have only started giving attention to our sports, but of sound note, we have accepted and granted sponsorship of independent organizations in sports. We have brought back the Governor's Cup for Benue. We have made sponsorship for the National Youth Games. We have also directed that all football pitches in our state at all our schools be upgraded. Benue is going to be a sports hub in our nation.
Chief Operating Officer of the Nigerian Premier Football League, Mr. Davidson Dowumi, appeals to the governor to support the forum in its quest to reposition the Premier League activities across the country and beyond. Mr. Dowumi says the seminar was to educate members of the forum about their responsibilities as media handlers of the various Premier League clubs across the country. He commended Governor Alia for the good work he was doing in the state. President of the Media Forum of Premier League Directors in the country, Mr. Amos Eche, acknowledges the contributions of Governor Alia's administration to sports development in Nigeria and Benue State in particular. The forum presented to the governor a letter of appointment as the Grand Patron of the Nigerian Football League Media Directors Forum. Emmanuel Akula, Benue Television News, Makudi. The governor says
Well, Governor Hyacinth Alia has described the late Toje Chira, His Royal Highness Chief Clement Ugandan, as a man who sacrificed for the work of God and development of the society. Governor Alia gave the description Saturday in Vandikia local government after inspecting ongoing work at the traditional ruler cemetery preparatory to the burial of the Toje Chira. Correspondent Emmanuel Akula has the report.
Governor Alia, who opines that the late traditional ruler was a man of wisdom and fear of God, touched his personal life and many others in very significant ways, saying his death has created a vacuum in their lives. The governor says his visit was to ensure that all arrangements were in place to ensure a successful burial. Father says the deceased also lived an exemplary life and worked tirelessly to eliminate bad governance in Benue State. He notes that Chief Ugandan was one among those who ensured that he ventured into politics, promising to do everything possible to give the Toje Chira a befitting burial.
It's a great piece. Someone who supported me quite enormously at a very younger, early stage of priesthood. I've been quite close to the family for decades. And so he's passing on. It's vacuum that is left to me as a person. And then with very simple, exemplary life we led. We never stopped talking about what befell the state: bad leadership, poor governance, and unresponsive leadership.
Caretaker Chairman of Vandika Local Government, who is also the Chairman, Central Planning Committee for the Beira, Mr. Dennis Guda, assures the Governor and Tiv Area Traditional Council that everything would be put in place ahead of the burial. The burial of the late Tojechira is slated for Wednesday, August 21, 2024. Emmanuel Akula, Benue Television News, Makudi.
Well, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has refuted claims that it owes international traders $6.8 billion. In a statement issued on Sunday, the company's chief corporate communications officer, Olufemi Shoneye, addressed the allegations. Shoneye stated that NNPCL's attention was drawn to a media report alleging that the company is indebted to international oil traders for $6.8 billion and that it has not remitted revenues to the Federation account since January, among other accusations. Shoneye noted that in the oil trading business, transactions are carried out on credit, and so it is normal to owe at one point or the other. He further explained that NNPCL through its subsidiary NNPC Trading has many open trade credit lines from several traders. The spokesperson added that the company is paying its obligations of related invoices on a first-in, first-out basis. According to him, it is not correct to say that NNPC Limited has not remitted any money to the Federation account since January. He noted that NNPC Limited and all its subsidiaries remit their taxes to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, regularly. This is in addition to payments of CIT to road contractors under the Road Investment Tax Credit Scheme. On the issue of quality and quantity fiscalization of imported petroleum products, he said NNPC Limited has no role whatsoever, as it is not a regulator. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, which is the relevant regulatory agency in charge of such issues, is an independent body and does not report to the NNPC Limited. In part two, after the break, the Kano State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Disabled and Children, Aisha Saji, has assured the justice will be served for the death of a 9-year-old girl, Rumaisa Sadiq, who was raped. We'll bring you this and much more right after this break. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Benue Television News at 9. Well, moving on, the Kano State Commissioner for Women Affairs, Disabled and Children, Aisha Saji, has assured that justice will be served for the death of a 9-year-old girl, Rumaisa Sadiq, who was raped by a chemist in Jana, Fanisau, Unogo local government area of Kano State. In a press statement, Saji noted that despite attempts to divert the case, Governor Abba Yusuf's administration would ensure the matter is followed up to serve as a deterrent to others. Reports indicate that the victim's father had taken her to the chemist's shop for malaria treatment, a common practice among some Nigerians who avoid going to hospitals due to high costs. Speaking during a condolence visit to the victim's family, the commissioner said there must be justice for the little girl who lost her life simply because someone chose to act on their animalistic instincts. She further stated that the full and swift dispensation of justice in this case is necessary to serve as a lesson and deterrent to others like the adult who committed this merciless act against an innocent 9-year-old girl. Assuring the girl's family for justice, Saji noted that the Kano state government, under the justice-loving governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, will follow up the case in court to a conclusive end. Meanwhile, several shops have been burned down by fire at the Mbuka Obusi Old Motor Spare Parts Market in Idemili, North Local Government Area of Anambra State. It was gathered that the inferno occurred on Saturday night, mostly affecting 3 shops, including a provision store. The cause of the incident was attributed to a power surge as a result of a poor electrical connection in one of the burned structures. The chairman of the market, Samuel Iforunwa, on Sunday stated that he was alerted to the incident at about 3 a.m. on Sunday, while the market security operatives had quickly swung into rescue operations. In reaction, President General of the Anambra State Markets Amalgamated Traders Association, Humphrey Anuna, said he rushed to the scene to see the extent of destruction, lamenting that most of the fire incidents were caused by illegal connections. Anuna also advised that structures should not be put under high-tension cables, citing the Nobi market fire incident as a case study. He, however, expressed concern as to the loss of goods and urged the victims to take heart. Confirming the incident in a statement, the Media and Publicity Unit of the Anambra State Fire Service noted that firefighters, led by the Fire Chief Chukudi Chiketa, were deployed immediately to the scene of the incident and they battled to contain the fire. Chiketa said the firefighters extinguished the inferno after several hours and returned to the station at 5:30 a.m. Sunday morning. We now shift our attention to a Vietnam-bound businessman, Paul Ukui Mbaduga, who has been arrested by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, NAIA, Abuja, after he tested positive for injection of cocaine. The spokesman of the agency, Femi Babafemi, who made this known in a statement on Sunday, stated that after 4 days under observation, Mbaduga excreted a total of 88 wraps of the illicit drug with a gross weight of 1.710 kilograms. According to Babafemi, the 54-year-old suspect was intercepted at the boarding gate of the Abuja airport on Monday, 12th August 2024, during the outward clearance of Qatar Airways flight QR1432 to Hanoi, Vietnam, via Doha. Babafemi said in his statement that Mbaduga claimed he was a Lagos-based businessman and was given the cocaine pellets to swallow by a friend in the Isolo area of the state for onward delivery in Vietnam for a fee of $2,000. While commending his officer's chairman and chief executive officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, also applauded the compatriots in all the commands across the country for intensifying the WADA sensation lectures and advocacy messages to every part of the areas of responsibility. Across the country, NDLEA commands continued their war against drug abuse, WADA sensitization lectures and advocacy visits to worship centers, schools, workplaces, palaces of traditional rulers, and communities all through the week. In Part 3, after the Breaker Hotel has been evacuated after a burst water main caused flooding near King's Cross Station in the early hours of Sunday. Well, this is from the international scene. We'll bring you much more right after this break. Welcome back, still live on Benue Television News at 9. And now moving on to the international scene, where a hotel has been evacuated after a burst water main caused flooding near King's Cross Station in the early hours of Sunday. London Fire Brigade LFB said 8 fire stations and about 60 firefighters were responding to the incident on Pentonville Road, which was affected an area of around 250 square meters. About 20 people at nearby King's Cross Express Inn were evacuated by crews due to flooding, while the basement of multiple homes and commercial properties had been affected. The brigade was called at 4:07 British Summer Time (BST) and said on Sunday afternoon that floodwater was receding near King's Cross, but traffic would continue to be heavily impacted. Sanjay Swaminarayan, the manager of the hotel, said 15 rooms in its basement and on the ground floor had been flooded. On Sunday afternoon, water was being pumped out of the building on King's Cross Road. He added that while sleep-deprived guests had been understanding about the evacuation, the hotel was still trying to book rooms at all the hotels for them Sunday evening. LFB deployed mobile flood barriers and specialist water rescue crews to the scene. Islington Council has urged people to avoid the area as crews responded, while stores have been advised to close temporarily by emergency services. Meanwhile, opposition supporters have gathered across Venezuela to protest against Nicolas Maduro's disputed victory in last month's presidential elections. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado joined thousands of protesters in the capital, Caracas, and urged them not to be afraid. Ms. Machado, who had been hiding after being accused of insurrection, said there was nothing above the voice of the people and that the people had spoken. Police and the army were deployed in force as supporters of Mr. Maduro also held a demonstration. Ms. Machado, who was banned from running in the election, had called for nationwide protests to intensify pressure on Mr. Maduro to concede. Mr. Maduro, however, insisted he won a third 6-year term, but the opposition released tallies it said showed its candidate Edmundo Gonzalez winning by a wide margin. While speaking from an unidentified location, Mr. Gonzalez said it was time for an orderly transition. The Electoral Commission, controlled by allies of Mr. Maduro, has refused to release detailed results but declared he won with over 5 million votes. Independent observers, however, stated that the results lacked transparency. Well, according to U.S. media reports, former New York Congressman George Santos is expected to plead guilty in his wide-ranging fraud case. Mr. Santos, who became the first member of Congress to be expelled in more than 20 years, is facing 23 federal felony charges that allege wire fraud, money laundering, and the misuse of campaign funds. The Republican had pleaded not guilty last year. According to an anonymous source who is familiar with the case, Mr. Santos is expected to appear in court on Monday in Central Islip, New York, and change that plea. It is unclear which or how many charges he may plead guilty to. Mr. Santos was removed from the U.S. Congress in December 2023 after the charges. The New York Republican became only the 6th lawmaker in history to be removed from the House and the first since 2002. His short tenure in office was marked by a slew of controversy, alleged lies about his past, and allegations of fraud. He had been accused of lying about a career on Wall Street, college degrees, and having Jewish ancestry. He was also accused of falsely claiming his mother died in the 9/11 terror attacks and scamming Amish dog breeders in Pennsylvania for thousands of dollars. Prosecutors and Mr. Santos's legal team had been preparing for his trial, which was scheduled to start in September. He was last in court on Tuesday for a pre-trial hearing. Well, that brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, let's take another look at the top stories. In the headlines, we saw that ongoing renovation on Aperco Stadium in Benue is to be completed in 8 weeks. We also saw that fire burned down a number of spare parts markets, and on the international scene, protests across Venezuela as election dispute goes on. Well, that was Benue Television News at 9. Thanks for watching. I am Susan Achin. Good morning.